Good day, colleagues and the class of 2021. This is Mr. Moshesho speaking. The subject teacher for Automotive grade 10 to grade 12 at Ozil Selele Technical School. Today we'll be discussing on how to improve our performance in terms of passing Automotive and then dealing with the most important parts of the content that we are dealing with in term 1. So colleagues, this is how the presentation will be outlined. We will have the introduction. Number 2, we'll have the amendments of the to the content overview. And number 3, topics for term 1 in details. 3.1, it will be safety and equipment, and then 3.2, tools, which is specific. To 3.3, engines, generic, and then lastly, colleagues, I will conclude. Now, colleagues, in terms of now we know that we are at a season whereby we are faced with this pandemic called COVID-19. So we all have different setups in our schools. Or at some other schools, learners are rotating. At some other schools, learners are platooning. So colleagues, irrespective of the model the school is using, the curriculum must be covered at all. So colleagues, to mediate the impact and the support teachers managing teaching, assessment and learning within the reduced time. Schools were supposed to be open on the 25th of January 2021. Due to pandemic faced by our country, we had to receive learners on the 15th of February 2021. Already planning in terms of curriculum coverage were made, so it's upon us as colleagues to see that with the time that we are having, we cover the curriculum. So colleagues, in terms of the amendments to the content overview, for term 1, grade 12, there are no amendments on the topics that we have to cover. So the topics are as follows. We are having safety, which is generic, and then tools, which is specific, as well as engines, which is specifically for grade 12. So now under this one, colleagues, we'll start firstly by discussing the safety. Now under safety, colleagues, we know that first, AIDS and HIV and AIDS awareness. It is important to know that legislation governing workplace in relation to COVID-19 is the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 85 of 1993, as amended. It talks about the safe work practices that needs to be followed by employer and employee. Procedure for safe and proper work, use of safety gloves, for an example, surgical gloves, social distancing, and washing of hands in workshops. For an example, colleagues, our learners must be able to know the responsibilities of the employer in terms of regarding the first aid in the workshop. So that simply means there are responsibilities of the employer regarding first aid, and also the responsibilities of the employer in terms of the safety in our workshops. So our learners must be able to differentiate between the two, that there are responsibilities of the employer in terms of first aid kit, and also the responsibilities of the employer in terms of the general safety in the workshop for the employees. And also, colleagues, our learners must be able to differentiate between the employer and the employee. So by doing this, learners will have to also give the responsibilities of the employee in terms of safety in the workshop. And then also, colleagues, we must always emphasize that our learners must be able to know the importance of wearing surgical gloves when treating co-workers. That's where, colleagues, there we talk about the contamination of the open wound, and also to prevent the transmission of HIV and AIDS. And then also, colleagues, we must make sure that our learners are able to know who's responsible for first aid training in the workplace, or who's responsible to administer the first aid in a workshop. And then also, again, colleagues, under safety, we must be specific in terms of the safety precautions of each and every machine in our workshop. We must shy away from our learners giving out the general safety precautions of machines. Learners must be able to know the safety precautions, the specific safety precautions for each and every machine that is stipulated on CAPS document, colleagues, or on our ATP. Educators must teach learners specific precautions for each machine. Precautions must not be general. Only let them know precautions to be followed. Normally, colleagues, the style of questioning during our examination or during our test, learners must be able to give at least the safety precautions of a certain machine before that machine can be in work, and also while the machine is in operation or after the work has been completed on that particular machine. For an example, colleagues, precautions for angle grinder. If you check here, colleagues, other learners will be saying you must make sure that there is no oil or grease around the machine. But colleagues, we must be specific. We must be specific. Our learners must be specific so that they can be able to attain marks on these, colleagues, because safety, colleagues, it is the most important part where learners can be able to attain easy marks. So it says safety guards must be in place before you can start the grinding process. So we know that this one, it falls under before. So if the examiner asks learners to give the safety precautions for angle grinder before the grinding process begins, the learners must be able to know that the safety guards must be in place. And then another one, colleagues, is that our learners must know also that for while under angle grinder, do not use excessive force while grinding and cutting. So that simply means this one, it falls under while. The first one that I've read, colleagues, it falls under before. Now this one falls under after or while. This one falls under while the machine is in process. So colleagues, that one was under safety, colleagues, whereby we have to be specific in terms of telling learners when we give out the safety precautions. Let's say we are having 5 safety precautions for angle grinder. We must at least classify them to say this first 2, it falls under before, and then this other one falls while the machine is in operation, and then others falls after the machine is in operation, so that at least our learners can be able to know how to answer those questions. And then colleagues, it is very important that we take our learners to the workshop so that these learners can be able to see and know that this type of machines, because some learners, you'll find that when you read their responses, they can tell you that learners, they have never been in a workshop. So it is very important, colleagues, that we utilize our workshops effectively so that our learners can be able to attain those easy marks. Now, colleagues, under topic 2, which is tools and equipment. This one, colleagues, it is very specific. And then 80% of our practical assessment task, colleagues, it comes from this topic. So it is very important that when we treat this topic, colleagues, we treat it thoroughly with learners, step by step, so that learners can be able to know what we are talking about. And also this one, colleagues, it is very important that we take learners into the workshop so that learners can be able to know. When we talk about compression tester, learners must be able to know this is the compression tester, this is how it works, this is the setup procedure, and this is also the safety procedures. And then also, colleagues, this one, it says all tools and equipment as stipulated in the CAPS and ATP must be taught. After completing the topic, a learner must be able to identify the equipment, label it, state its function, and be able to state the setup procedure, and also differentiate between setup procedure and safety procedure. Colleagues, we are having a compression tester, whereby learners must be able to tell us what is the purpose of the compression tester, and also what is the purpose of cylinder leakage tester, what is the purpose of gas analyzer, what is the purpose of computerized diagnostic scanner, and also they must be able to know the setup procedure. How do we set up the compression tester when we want to test the compression in a cylinder, colleagues? And then also we are having a wheel balancer, whereby our learners must be able to know how to utilize wheel balancer. They must be able to know how to balance a wheel of a motor vehicle. And also we have what we call wheel alignment equipment. So educators must emphasize the difference between setup procedure and safety procedure. For an example, colleagues, if you check here, we are having a compression tester. We say compression tester, it is used to measure the pressure in a specific cylinder during compression stroke. That simply means it's when the piston is moving from bottom dead center to top dead center. So we are measuring the pressure in that specific cylinder. So now, colleagues, that's how our learners should be able to understand and know. But they can only know if they can be able to be taken into the workshop by their teachers. Now, colleagues, before we move to engines, colleagues, here, colleagues, let us make sure that we emphasize, because normally here it's whereby most of our learners are losing marks. They are losing easy marks. You'll find that when you check the PET document of our learners are having 40 out of 50, but when they are writing examination or a test, they are performing badly on this topic, colleagues. So there must be a relationship between the marks that learners are attaining when they do practical assessment tasks, as well as the marks that learners are attaining during examination or during the test. So it is very important that, colleagues, we take our learners into the workshop, we emphasize these tools, and then we teach them how to utilize them so that they can be able to remember them during examination. Now, colleagues, under engines, colleagues, as we all know, colleagues, that 2020 was a very bad year for all of us, colleagues. So some of the topics were not properly treated by the educators because of time that we had. So you'll find that, colleagues, most of the learners are very challenged in terms of engines. They are very challenged in terms of engines. So I would suggest that our colleagues, they use YouTube videos where learners can be able to see how it functions, and then how and also what is the crankshaft, and then how do we balance the crankshaft, colleagues, because sometimes we find that we don't have those machines in our workshop where we can be able to show learners how to balance the crankshaft. But definitely, for sure, if we can go to YouTube, colleagues, we can be able to see and then show learners on how to balance the crankshaft dynamically and statically. And then also, colleagues, learners must be able to know what is the function of the vibration damper. So, colleagues, under engines, we are only going to concentrate on balancing of a crankshaft statically and dynamically, and then also we are going to concentrate on the function of the vibration damper, and then also we are going to check what is the crank arrangements, colleagues, in terms of to check whether the factors that can be able to tell us the firing order of a vehicle, and also to check whether how to determine the firing order if the specifications are not given, and then also the firing order. So those are the things that we need to concentrate on, colleagues, when we are doing that topic. So, colleagues, under engines, colleagues, also we must focus on describe the operating principles. So learners must be able to tell the operating principle of a turbochargers, all different types of turbochargers, and also the construction of the turbocharger, as well as the operating principles of the superchargers, and also again the construction of the superchargers. So also here, colleagues, we can be able to utilize the YouTube videos so that our learners can be able to see. But then we thank God, now we have received the engines that were donated to our schools, and then I saw that they have the turbochargers on them, so that at least we can be able to show our learners this is the turbocharger and this is how it functions, and also the superchargers. We can be able to utilize the YouTube videos. So, colleagues, it is very important that we try by all means that we practicalize every topic that we teach, so that our learners can be able to keep remembering what we taught them, colleagues. Colleagues, I wish you all the best, and then I wish that all curriculum will be covered, and then I also wish that our learners will definitely perform. Colleagues, let us make sure that we cover all curriculum at all cost, and then let us make sure that we don't leave any learner behind. Thank you.